Warning: the program you're about to hear may contain adult language and subject matter. It is not intended for anyone under 18 years of age and whom is not mature. All views and opinions expressed within are solely those of this program's host, co-host, and guest. They are not intended to reflect those of any other persons or organizations, past or present. All subject matter discussed is not intended to be taken seriously and is only meant for entertainment purposes only. It's the Big DC Show! News, sports, politics, religion, and everything else. Talk radio, talk radio always meant to be. And now here is your host, the man himself, the living legend, Big DC.
Hey, it's me, it's the Big DC. It's the one you gotta believe, cause it's me. That's right, folks, it's me, I'm the Big DC, and I'm back here on Spreaker.com. Welcome back, folks. It's been a long time since I've been here, but I am now back. I can't promise you that I will do a weekly show every week, but I'm gonna try. Okay? So, with that being said, today's topic is entitled Principles. And the principles what I'm actually talking about today is Obamacare, Senator Ted Cruz's vote to defund Obamacare, the state of our government, things like that. So, welcome one and all. I'm glad you're here. And before I get started, I just want to say this, and I want you to listen real carefully. I am not a conservative, and I am not a liberal. What am I then? I am independent. That means I listen to both sides. I listen to conservatives. I listen to liberals. I listen very carefully. I study the matter out. I make a decision based on what is best for me, my family, my country, what I feel is right in my heart. As I said, I'm not a conservative, I'm not a liberal, I'm independent, and I do what I feel is best for me, my family, my country, based on what I feel is right in my heart. So keep that in mind. Because a lot of what I'm going to say today may sound very conservative to you. A lot of what I say may sound very liberal to you. But like I said, I'm neither. I'm independent. Now, as we all know, Senator Ted Cruz put a vote out there. You got 19 Republicans to go with him total to vote to defund Obamacare. It's really got the Republican Party on an uproar. They're saying, oh, he knew it was going to fail. He shouldn't have done it and all this stuff. I mean, everyone's talking about how bad Obamacare is. Now, what is Obamacare? It's the Affordable Care Act, ACA, better known as Obamacare. I'm not going to go educate you on exactly the details of it. I think by now you should pretty much know about it. And I'm not going to tell you it's right or wrong. You should know within your own heart right now whether it's right or wrong. I'm not going to tell you that. What I am going to tell you about this, it's very simple. I asked someone the other day, what do you think about Obamacare? And this was their answer. Well, Obamacare is wrong. And I thought about it. I went, okay. And I asked him again, I said, well, what makes you say it's wrong? And they answered back, because the news said it was wrong. And that just floored me right there. They said it was wrong. They believed it was wrong because the news told them it was wrong. They didn't think for themselves. They let the media decide for them whether Obamacare was right or wrong. And based on whatever news media they were listening to, it said it was wrong. It was no good. That's what they chose, and they decided it was wrong. They didn't study up on it. They didn't try to find out anything about it. I shouldn't say they didn't try to find out anything about it. They just listened to one type of media and went with what it said about it. Well, if you only listen to a conservative media, all you're going to get is Obamacare is wrong. But all you listen to is a liberal media. All you're going to get is Obamacare is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Unless you listen to both sides very carefully, and then you go out on your own and you do some studying about it and read up on it and everything and get a copy of that bill, which it is available on the internet. You can get a copy of it for free. I'm not joking. You can. Then you're not really going to know anything about it. You're only going to know what the media says. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are saying, well, Obamacare is wrong. It's bad for the country. It's very harmful. I'm losing my insurance because of it. Now, stop right there. Let's be very realistic in that statement right there. Are you losing your insurance because of Obamacare? Or are you losing your insurance because your insurance company decided to kick you off? Now, think about what I just said. Yes, Obamacare may have allowed the insurance companies to do that because it's taking government intervention away from the insurance. It's not putting any regulations on them to stop them, so they can kick you off now. So no, if you stop and logically think Obamacare didn't cause you to lose your insurance, the insurance company found a way to boot you off because it was more affordable to them to do it. And what I mean by that, my father-in-law has always been on his wife's insurance policy at the hospital. Well, because of Obamacare now, the insurance company refuses to, allow him, the hospital refuses to allow him to be on that insurance. They're saying, hey, Obamacare is out. You can go out and, pay for it for yourself. It's affordable. Well, that's not Obamacare that did it. That's the hospital that did it. So it's not Obamacare that's causing you to lose your insurance. It's the company that you work for. Everyone's saying we don't need big government. Well, we don't. Everyone's saying we don't want government intervention. Well, think about it. You're screaming for government intervention right now when you're saying, hey, it's Obamacare to blame for us losing our insurance. Do something about it. That's government intervention, folks. When you want the government to intervene on your part, that's government intervention. Like I said, I'm not telling you Obamacare is right or wrong. I'm giving you facts from people that's went through this. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But it is government intervention. You're screaming for the government to step in and protect you. To stop, your employer from, booting you off the insurance policy that you've been on, to stop paying for it because now you can pay for it for yourself according to what Obamacare says. So we first have to be enlightened and realize, hey, Obamacare may not be that great in your mind, but for some people, it's better than nothing. And I want to remind you of something. Right after World War II, Franklin Roosevelt came up with something called the SSA, the Social Security Act. By the way, Franklin Roosevelt was a Democrat. He was the president. He was a Democrat. He came up with the Social Security Act. Now, we all know that as Social Security today. Every Republican at that time said this thing is not going to work. It is horrible. It is bad for the country. It is going to cause businesses to go bankrupt. It's going to cause the government to go bankrupt. It's horrible. They were all against it. They fought it tooth and nail. They said it would never work. They said it was bad for every American, in the United States. Not a one of them gave it a chance. But Roosevelt continued on with it and continued on with it and continued on with it till he got it passed, till it became a law. And it wasn't until many, many, many years later that the Republicans just said, okay, forget it. We're not going to fight this no more. We're going to try to work with it. Now, granted, Social Security has changed greatly from that day up until today. There's been many changes made within those laws that govern Social Security to make it better than what it was. But even back then, back when Republicans were saying it was horrible, it was still better than the options that were there. They just didn't want to see it. So you have to come back to today. All the Republicans are saying and conservatives are saying that Obamacare is horrible. It's the worst thing to the planet. It's the worst thing to the United States. It's going to bankrupt us. It's going to cause us to lose everything, blah, 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 blah. These are the exact same arguments that were made by Republicans about Social Security way, way back then. If you don't believe me, go look it up. Go look up what Republicans said about Social Security way back then. I can't change history. It's there publicly for you all to see and read and hear for yourselves. So yes, maybe Obamacare is not the greatest thing out there. But you know what? When it was first proposed, not a single Republican, not a single conservative wanted to work within it and try to make it better. Obama went to many conservatives, to many Republicans, and said, hey, come on board with this. And if you don't like something, let's try to make changes. Not a single one of them would do it. All they did was bash it and throw it down and say, it's not going to work, it's horrible, it's going to destroy the country, it's going to cause everyone to lose their insurance, blah, 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 and everything, things like that. Not a single one of them would try to work within it to make it better. Not a one, folks. Not a one. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to tell you Obamacare is good. I'm not trying to tell you Obamacare is bad. I only am trying to give you the facts here. But not a one of them would work within it. Now that it looks like it's going to become law, or it is law, or whatever. I don't believe it is. I don't believe it's been put into law yet. It's still a bill. But it looks like, you know, that it's going to happen and it's going to be funded and everything. They're still destroying it. They're still not trying to work within it. They're still not trying to make it better. They just want to get rid of it. Why? I understand that there's going to be people that lose insurance. I really do. I sympathize with them, and I think that's horrible. But there's also going to be people that never had insurance before that is now going to be able to get it. So I'm looking at both sides here. Now, granted, there is one big thing about Obamacare that I don't like. I really do not like it, and I don't think it's right. And that's the fact that if you don't buy health care insurance, if you don't have health care insurance, you will be penalized a percentage of your salary. I don't care for that. That is something that Republicans should have immediately, that when they were offered way back then to get in on this thing, they should have got in on it and said, no, that's going to change. Let's take that out. But they didn't. They didn't. So we can't really blame Obama for that. We can blame Republicans. We can blame conservatives. I guess you can blame Obama. Yeah, you can blame Obama and liberals as well. But you can blame both parties for that. For one party for putting it in and the other party for not going there and saying, no, let's take that out. So you can blame both parties on that one, yeah. But here's the thing. What's this going to be like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, like Social Security was? Are we still going to be hearing Obamacare is the worst thing on the planet? Or are we going to be hearing Obamacare was a great thing? It was great. Don't say, oh, no, it's going to be bad, because that's speculation. You don't know, because that's exactly what they said about Social Security. Oh, it's going to be bad. It's going to be horrible. It's not going to do anything for anybody. Keep that in mind before you start saying Obamacare or the ACA is going to be bad and horrible. Keep that in mind. It was the same thing said about Social Security. I tell you, like I said, I want you to be educated. I want you to go read up on this thing yourself. But I don't want you to listen to the conservative media alone. And I don't want you to listen to the liberal media alone. I want you to listen to both sides very, very carefully. Very, very, very carefully listen to both sides. Study up on the issue. Study very, very hard about it. Learn as much about it as possible. Make an informed decision that you feel is best for you, your family, your country. Now, A lot of liberals are saying, oh, you can't do that. A lot of conservatives are saying, oh, you can't do that. You can. And you should. You really should. Whether Obamacare or the ACA, I'm going to just refer back to it as ACA, fails or is a success is going to depend on a lot of factors. Number one, can Americans truly get health care that never had it before? Number two, how hard will conservatives and Republicans fight against this thing to try to destroy it, even after it comes into full existence? Number three, how hard will Democrats and liberals continue to fight to try to improve it after it comes into existence? And number four, will it truly be affordable to the country? Can the country afford it, continue to afford it? Will they be able to afford it in the beginning? Will they be able to sustain that? Those four things will determine if Obamacare fails or doesn't fail. And I know a lot of you out there are saying, well, you sound very liberal. And some of you are saying, well, you sound very conservative. I'll tell you. You take it however you want. However you want. Okay? What we're going to do right now is we're going to go into a commercial. When we come back, we'll talk more about this and Senator Ted Cruz. We'll see you back live here on the Big DC Show in just a few.
You are listening to the Big DC Show with your host, the Big DC, here on Spreaker.com.
Listening to the Chris Top program burns more calories than setting a fat kid on fire.
Supersonic is one of the biggest family stations on Spreaker. No competition. Let your DJs entertain you. Supersonic Radio.
Hello, Ryder, Donnie. Donnie, hello, Ryder.
All my friends, the low rider. The low rider.
Okay, welcome back, folks. Welcome back. I am your host, the Big DC. This is my show, the Big DC Show. Welcome back to the show, folks. Welcome. We've been talking about Obamacare and things like that, and we want to continue that discussion on real quick. As you all know, Senator Ted Cruz and 19 others, as I said earlier at the top of the show, voted to defund it. A lot of Republicans are saying he shouldn't have done it. It's destroying the party. Really want to talk about that for a minute. This is a man, and like I said, I'm not telling you Obamacare is right or wrong. You decide that yourself. This is a man who felt like Obamacare, he said he knew that Obamacare was wrong, so he voted to defund it. Now his party is against him and the others that followed him. They're saying he did it for political reasons only. But you know what? This is a man who, against all odds, chose to do what he felt was right in his heart. It could destroy his political career. Who knows? Or it could raise it up. Who knows? Granted, you know, the people that are against Obamacare come the next election, they're going to remember Ted Cruz. It could benefit him that way. I mean, granted, it led to a government shutdown. It could destroy him because they're going to remember Ted Cruz at the next election. But either way, no matter what, he felt it was wrong. He voted to defund it. In other words, not fund it at all. He got other people to go along with him to not fund it, to vote not to fund it, even though it failed. Now, here's where you got to understand something, folks. Doing the right thing is not always easy. It's not always popular. Doing the right thing is not always the popular thing to do. I mean, the popular and easy thing to do would be to not place that vote. It would be to go along with your party and try to find a different way around this. The hard thing to do, though, would be to go against your party, to vote to defund Obamacare. It's going to be the hard thing to do. It's going to be difficult, but it was the right thing for him in his heart. And yes, a relative of mine on Facebook said that, the Republicans that were voted in, and said they would vote against Obamacare. That's great. That's great. As long as they did what they said they were going to do. Keep in mind, your officials do work for you. So I want you to remember that. But Senator Ted Cruz stuck with his principles, and thus the title of this show, Principles. He stuck by his principles, and he voted to defund Obamacare when it was not the popular thing to do, when he knew it would lead to a possible government shutdown. I mean, you did not know for a fact. I mean, it was a possibility. It made it a bigger possibility. He knew this, and he still stuck to his principles and said, I will not fund Obamacare. I commend Senator Ted Cruz for sticking to his principles. Like I said, I'm not saying Obamacare is wrong. I'm not saying Obamacare is right. I'm commending someone for standing to their principles, for what they believe they know in their heart is wrong, and they choose to fight against it. So congratulations, Ted Cruz. Now, with that being said, these problems that we have to understand that the government is there to work for us. Do you truly know why your government was set up? The government was set up for one reason only. You can disagree with me all you want on this, but go back and read all the statements from the founding fathers on why they set up the government, and this is what you'll find out. The government was set up for one reason only, to protect the citizens of the United States from other countries and from itself. Uh-oh, keyword there. Keywords there. And from itself. What does that mean? That means the government was set up to protect us from other countries, from things that's happening overseas, from bad people over there, but also to protect us from things that we do to ourselves. And sometimes that means they have to make laws that's not very popular with the citizens in this country. I know that sounds horrible, but it's the truth. Now, when we do that, sometimes we're being called a tyrannical government. And the people that's calling us a tyrannical government really have no idea what they're saying. They've never done a study on what a tyrannical government is. They've never checked out anything about tyrannical governments. They've never really looked into what a tyrannical government looks like. That would be like someone calling my grandmother a doctor or a nurse simply because when all the grandkids get hurt, she's the one that put medicine on them and put Band-Aids on them and gave them food and stuff like that to help them feel better. But yet, not a one of them really knew her background. Not a one of them really even knew where she was from. Not a one of them really knew any of her qualifications. They just called her a doctor or a nurse simply because she done those things. And that's exactly what people do to this country, to the leaders in this country, to this government. They call it a tyrannical government without knowing anything about what a tyrannical government really is. Seriously, folks, before we start pointing fingers, before we start saying something is bad or good, we need to do some studying on it. We need to find out as much as possible about it. And you can't just listen to one side to get the whole story. You can't. I'm sorry. I know you want to. I know everything in your whole being is saying, I'm going to... I know everything in your whole being is saying, I'm going to listen to that one side only. But you know what? When you do that, all you get is that one side. And it may not be accurate. It may not even be truthful. Or it may not be the whole truth. That's why you have to listen to both sides. Then, and I'm going to say this again, then and only then can you possibly get the truth. I didn't say you would get the truth. I said then and only then can you possibly get the truth. That's right. You have to listen to both sides. Then you have to study upon it. You have to meditate upon it. You have to think about it. Ask around. Ask what others think as well. People that thinks it's good, find out why they think it's good. People that thinks it's bad, find out why they think it's bad. Really do some studying on these things. Then make an informed decision based solely on the facts, on what is best for you, your family, your country. We need to take responsibility, folks. We do. We need to take responsibility. And if we choose not to, then things are going to go horribly wrong. Like I said, I'm not telling you Obamacare is good. I'm not telling you Obamacare is bad. I'm not telling you Republicans are right. I'm not telling you Democrats are right. I'm not telling you Republicans are wrong. I'm not telling you Democrats are wrong. Same with conservatives and liberals and everything else. I'm saying you need to find out on your own. I have told you a lot of my views on things today. Now, granted, I didn't go knee deep. You know, I didn't go waist deep or head first or whatever and tell you everything because I don't feel like it's prudent. But I've told you enough. And the thing is if you chose not to listen to anything I've said, to not to be enlightened, then you've chosen to remain ignorant. Sorry to say that, but it's the truth. It is the truth, folks. Hey, it's been a great show. I want you all to check out the Big DC Network at www.thebigdcnetwork.tk. As I said, we'll be trying to air here on Spreaker, hopefully every Monday at 3 p.m. If not, I'll let you know. But it has been a great show. And if you want to hear me talk about something, just send me an email at info@thebigdcnetwork.tk, and I'll try to do a show about whatever you want to hear, whatever you want to talk about. Folks, the government shouldn't be our enemy. It should be our employee. And somehow we need to make that change. We need to make the government our employee, not our enemy or employer, but our employee. The government works for you, and it works for me, except it's not working right now, and we need to change that. I'll see you next time on the Big DC Show. I'm out of here.